Welcome to Bold and Beautiful with a glass of wine, the safe spot for women to come bare and be vulnerable and not be judged by it. Pouring their hearts out and speaking the truth of what they've been through and still going through to societal construct of what's expected of them. Together we're strong, together we'll overcome. So now, take a sip, take a deep breath, relax, block out the noise. Now let's talk. My name is Flora Chiedo and welcome to my podcast. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another fresh episode of Bold and Beautiful with a glass of wine with your very own Flora Chiedo. Today we're going to be talking about postpartum depression. Now, this is a topic a lot of people don't get to talk about a lot. A lot of people are not aware of. In fact, a lot of women go through this depression and don't even know there is a title attached to what they are feeling at that moment. So we're going to be creating awareness on this particular topic, postpartum depression, so it gets to more people and more people understand that this is something that some new mothers, can go through. In the first few weeks of caring for a newborn, most new moms, they feel anxious, they feel sad, frustrated, tired, and overwhelmed. Sometimes this can be called baby blues. And these feelings, they get better within a few weeks. But for some women, they're either very strong or they don't even get better at all. Now, postpartum depression is when these feelings don't go away after about 2 weeks, making it hard for a woman to take care of herself or her baby. Postpartum depression is a common and potentially serious mental health condition. And without treatment, the symptoms can worsen, making it harder for a woman to take care of herself or her baby. Anyone who experiences a low mood for at least 2 weeks in the first year after delivery should seek help or medical care, guys, because postpartum depression is treatable. Treatment helps most women feel like themselves again. Then they can enjoy having a newborn at home, And like I said, guys, postpartum can affect any woman. It doesn't affect just a certain, group of people. No, it can affect anybody. Anybody can go through it. We don't plan for it to happen. Sometimes it just happens. But the good news is it's treatable and you can actually come out of it. As many as 50 to 75% of new mothers experience a shift in their emotions called baby blues after delivery. And up to 15% of these women will develop a more severe and longer lasting depression called postpartum depression after delivery. Guys, postpartum depression is real and it's very common among women. Women are the only ones that get to experience it because they are the ones that go through childbirth and can actually go through postpartum depression. 1 in 1,000 women develop the more serious condition called postpartum psychosis. Now, there is something even more serious than the normal postpartum depression that some people are aware of, which is called postpartum psychosis. And if it's not treated, if it's not identified and treated on time, it can lead to this postpartum psychosis, which is, which gives a woman the feeling of wanting to harm her baby. She goes into like this severe depression where she's frustrated, everything irritates her. She wants to either commit suicide, harm herself, So all of this can be treated. And a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are not aware of this, but hopefully with this episode, more people would be aware of a condition called postpartum depression. People need to understand that postpartum depression also is not something like in our society. People believe it's either family something or they are doing you from your village. It's not village something. She's not a witch. Nothing is wrong with her. She's just sick and she needs help. And she can actually be helped if she has the right people around her. But let me not do too many talks or breakdown about the entire thing. Today I have a guest on the show, and she's going to be taking us on her experience with postpartum depression, what she went through and how she came out of it. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the studio today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very well, alive and healthy.
Thank God. So let's get right into it. First of all, I want us to take it in bits. I don't want us to rush it because I want people to understand every single thing from the beginning till the end. So let's not jump from the beginning of how it happened and go all the way to the end. Let's go through the entire process.
Sure.
Yeah. So first of all, why did you decide to share?
I think a lot of people are in denial. People just think that is the normal way of life. You just give birth to something that's supposed to make you happy, but on the contrary, you begin to feel some type of way. And if you can feel this way, there would be a lot of other people going through it. So however, this can be avoided if you know certain things to do, certain things to avoid. So I'm happy to share this experience because I know that I will not go through this experience a second time. So if I can share this experience with moms to be, or already moms, like I said, some people live in denial. Some people just think that that's how it should be or that's how you should feel. But if you know that there is a better way to live in life even after childbirth, and you're convinced about that, why not? So having to share my story, my experience would just, put a stop to anybody that, gets to listen to this truth.
Yeah, now you say, I'm actually very grateful and happy that you're here because, like I said in my intro, a lot of people are not even aware of what that feeling is. They don't even know what they're feeling at that moment. They don't even know there's a title attached to it. They don't even know it's called Postpartum Depression. They just feel it's normal. Yes, it's normal. And then, of course, with our society, imagine a mother that maybe doesn't want to have anything to do with her child at that point because of what she's feeling. And then people call her maybe a witch or she's wicked or imagine having to watch a child cry or something and then you don't move. And then people are calling you wicked, calling you this.
Yeah,
people don't even understand
they
what
don't
it is you're
understand. It's
feeling.
beyond what you can't help yourself. Like, you're helpless. And that's why I tell people you need all the help you can get. Like, you can't be a super mother or a super mom after childbirth, no matter how many times you've gone through that process. And for a lot of people, for every time they give birth, it's a different experience. So you just have to be deliberate about yourself, having in mind that you come first, getting all the help you can get from everyone around you. Like, you just need to relax and be taken care of at that period.
Yeah. So tell us, how did it happen with you? What was the experience with you? How did it start? At what point did you? First of all, let me ask you this question: when you were feeling all you were feeling, did you know before all of this, before you got pregnant, all of this, did you know of postpartum depression? Do you know there was something called postpartum depression? Okay,
so I hadn't heard of the word postpartum depression because my last child was my first, real pregnancy. And of course, you would have to read things, you just want to know what's happening at every trimester, just to be more informed. And then as I got into the pregnancy, I just knew that I read up something that, okay, you can feel this type of way. Just know that it is, hormonal.
So was this before you had the child or while you were
like
pregnant?
I said, because I was reading stuff, so I probably must have come across it.
Did you read about it like while you're pregnant or after you had your child?
I can't say categorically that I read about it while I was pregnant, but I just knew there was something like postpartum depression because you are not your real self while you're pregnant. So I'm sure that because there are a lot of things that you would react to when you're pregnant, and the books would tell you that, okay, you're reacting this way because of your hormones are changing or have changed. So of course, at some point I read that, okay, there could be something like postpartum depression, but I know that if you're deliberate about your pregnancy, your childbirth, you may avoid not having postpartum depression. But for me, it wasn't the case because my story is not the regular Cinderella sweet story. I had it. Okay, of course, I was dating, of course, right? And then I had a baby. I was pregnant first off, and then, but I knew that child I wasn't going to take if I wanted to keep the child, right? But on the other hand, my partner wasn't ready for it. But with that child or with that pregnancy, I knew this was something I wanted to keep, and I wasn't going to have to take it out. So whether or not he was going to be there for me, I decided that I wanted to keep that child. And with pregnancy and every other project you want to do in life, you need maximum support. It may not be financially, but I mean, the presence of the person that you care about does a lot. So I didn't get so much of that because, of course, like I said, it wasn't something he wanted, because he felt he had a better plan. We could have had it better. We could have gotten married, plan to go abroad, stay, live, have a child then. But I mean, that wasn't the reality at that time. So all of those sentiments or resentments had a role to play. But like I said, it was something I wanted, and I was ready to keep that child. So having said that, of course, parents wanted us to get married, before the child comes, just so that you don't have the child outside wedlock. But I knew I did not want to be married to someone or to him because I was having a baby. Like, I wasn't going to do that.
Which is a mistake a lot of people make.
Obviously, yes. Because, I mean, I've seen scenarios of partners telling a girlfriend, telling her boyfriend, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and the next thing he says, "Okay, you know what? Let's plan for a wedding. Let me engage you." They have those conversations, but I didn't hear these conversations from him. He wasn't excited about it. But his parents or our parents were excited about it and wanted us to have or get married. It wasn't from him. It was from the parents. And I wasn't going to be in that position where I'm with him because, we're having a child and we should get married and stuff. So I said to him no. Because I knew that, okay, he's telling me to get married was an influence from his
family.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, no, I don't think I want to get married to you. I want us to be married because we really love each other and we want to be with each other, not because we have a child. So with that in mind, I pretty much did everything myself. I went to antenatal myself. I sorted my baby's clothing by myself. And the excitement that comes with having your baby, the first child. You want everything to be all clean, all nice, tush. So, I got all my baby's things, even from abroad, like by myself, no support. It was, much later on, he started becoming a little bit more involved. Okay, what do you think you need to get and all of that? But though I collected the funds, but I'd already sorted out everything. So, I mean, when I gave birth, was just... And because I had been wanting to do everything myself, or I had been doing everything myself, I mean, we all need a break, we all need help. So I think I broke down when I eventually had the baby. Yeah, so that was the breaking point for me. My body, my system just couldn't take it. We're humans. It couldn't take all the hard work and all that.
But you see how you put to birth. Were you excited when you put to birth?
I won't lie. I wasn't excited. I didn't know.
Another question, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Was he there with you in the hospital, or it was just you?
No, he was there.
He was there.
Okay, prior to that day, he said he wasn't going to be there, that he's not sure he can face. Thinking about it, I'm smiling. Mm-hmm. He was like, okay, he's not sure he can, face all of that. And I remember telling him that, like, why won't you be there? And I remember he said, okay, when he was giving birth to his dad wasn't there. I said to him, I am not your mom and you're not your dad. I'll be happy if you are around. But he insisted that he wasn't going to be there. So, but when I called him and I told him, okay, it looks like this is going to be it. It came right away.
So question, when you first got pregnant, you told him about it, and then he wasn't really into it, because he wasn't ready. So all through that process, all through the 9 months, were you guys still in a relationship? Or did he, after he told you he wasn't ready to have a child and whatever, and you decided to keep it, did you think you still wanted to continue the relationship with him?
Okay, there was one thing he told me. Okay, prior to my pregnancy, we were on a break. Like, he wasn't forthcoming. I mean, I wasn't getting younger and I needed a more committed relationship from him. And he wasn't forthcoming. So I took a break, or we took a break. He was having fun and I was with someone else. Right. But of course, with the person I was, I knew, okay, we're not going to get to where I wanted us to be in terms of marriage. But I was just hanging there. And of course, he wasn't getting what he wanted from the other ladies he was with. So for about a year, we were apart. Then he reached out to me. I mean, I was more or less like single. Like, okay, you've not gotten who you wanted, or you want, and I'm not getting.
So after a year, you're still pregnant. No. Or had you put to bed?
I'll answer the question, and then we came back. So it was the coming back process that I got pregnant.
Oh.
Yes, I remember telling him that whether or not you're in this with me, I'm going to keep this baby. And he said something that I held on to. Whether you decide, whether it was real or not, I don't know, but I held on to it. And he said something, whether you decide to keep this baby or not, I am going to be by you. So I held on to that. I just knew that if the scenario was a better one for him, he would have been more available. But because this is not what he wanted, this is not how he planned it, yeah. So that was it for me, and that was it for him. Yeah.
So you held on to that?
Yeah, that was pretty much what I held on to. But I mean, all through my pregnancy, 9 months, was he really there? No, to be fair with me, I don't think I got the support I needed from
But
him.
do you have an idea of what his fear was? What exactly was it? Why he didn't?
Everybody desires to have a better life, or to give a better life to their words.
Okay, so you think he wasn't there yet?
He wasn't. That was what he felt like. He wasn't. I mean, he schooled in the UK, so he wanted a scenario where, okay, we can proper get married. I mean, his father is a pastor.
Oh, okay.
But not a pastor to a church. He's a pastor in a church.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So his father is a pastor, and they expect that, you don't just how everybody expects you to do the right thing or what in quote is appropriate. So he wanted us to get married, enjoy the marriage for a year or two, but then
Before
have the child, the perfect scenario. Yeah, that was pretty much what he wanted. But for me, it was okay.
But when we say perfect scenario to who? Exactly.
It's relative.
Exactly, because I feel it's a social construct. So when you say perfect scenario, you ask the question like, perfect scenario to who?
To who? Yeah, it's relative. I mean, like I said, it wasn't the reality at that time, and I knew I wasn't going to take out the child.
Right.
There was a time I reminded him, we're all together with our son. I'm like, remember this child? You wanted us to put this child.
I can imagine.
And to think that the child looks so much like him,
Oh, are you serious?
so much like him. Yeah, so
I can imagine.
yeah, so during the pregnancy period, he wasn't available as much as I wanted him to be. But like I said, I had made up my mind that I was going to do this by myself, whether or not. So I wasn't exactly discouraged from the reaction I was getting from him. So I went to my antenatal myself, my doctor's appointment myself. Even at that period, all through the 9 months, we're just intimate once. In all the 9 months, just once. And was it a concern to me? Not really. It wasn't, because like I said, I had already, what if he told me he didn't want to be a part of the baby's life? would I be expecting intimacy from him? No. So it wasn't. It was just, in fact, talking to my friends made it a concern, because we're like, oh, are you serious? Why? He should do this. He should do that. But left to me, I was like, And how most pregnant women get so in the mood, and that wasn't the case for me. I was just indifferent. Like, I wasn't crazy about how most women picture it to be, that, oh, you'll be so honey when you're pregnant. I wasn't. I could count how many times I was, but it wasn't to the point where, it wasn't so much to the point where I would probably need him.
It was something you could control.
It was something I could control. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't something I couldn't deal with.
So also this, 9 months, were you staying alone, or where exactly?
I was shuttling my dad.
Okay.
And his.
Yeah,
I was just shuttling, because my antenatal I picked my antenatal, the hospital I used where my dad was, or where my dad is. So that was where I picked. So I was shuttling between his and my dad's.
Okay, so take us through this process of, the whole postpartum depression, how it happened, how it started.
Okay,
did it start before you put to birth, or was it after?
I think it was building up while I was pregnant.
So did it start building up from the moment your husband told you, your boyfriend at the time told you he wasn't, there yet to have a child?
Maybe. I couldn't have said when it started, but obviously it was something that had built up. And I mean, we always need help, regardless of how strong or how independent you think you are. So a lot of times I was doing everything myself. So I think it must have built up from, obviously, when I was pregnant, because I had mood swings at some point. It definitely built up from when I was pregnant. And then after I had my baby, I had a few friends ask me, oh, Demel, you're a new mom, how do you feel? How does it feel like? And the truth is, I couldn't explain what I felt. But obviously I knew I did not hate the child. But was there when you go on social media and you see how people say certain things about their unborn child, how they say things about, because at that time the baby, I wasn't relating to the child. The baby couldn't smile back at me. It was just a child that needed to be cared for. So of course I said, I didn't hate him, but I couldn't say that, oh, he's overwhelming, I love him, I couldn't have said that. That's
now you say this, something just struck to me. And you know how people say, when they put to birth and they see their child for the first time, it's a different feeling. You get to hear things like, at that point, everything just made sense. At that point, I wanted to do everything for you to make you happy. Let me ask you.
Oh, my second child.
Let me ask you first. When you saw your child, after you put to birth, when you saw your child for the first time, tell me how you felt.
I can't say how I felt. It wasn't... Well, maybe because I went through so much pain. My labor was for 2 days. I was in labor from Tuesday.
You labor for 2 days?
Yes, Tuesday, and I gave birth on Thursday. But regardless, I still know some people that have gone through more or worse situation. Yeah. But when they see the child, it's just so
different. Exactly.
It's different. The first thing I saw when I saw my child, or when I saw my son, I just saw his father's face immediately. That was what I saw. And then they gave me to, hug the baby. And that was it. I didn't carry my baby until the second day after he was given birth to.
What do you mean? After you go to birth, you didn't carry him? So it was 2 days later they gave him to you. How was he feeding? I don't get it.
Well, of course, I didn't have breast milk at the time. So he was taking baby food at the time and water. Yeah. So I couldn't have said
Can I ask why though?
Why?
Why you didn't see your child till after?
I saw him, but I didn't carry him.
Okay, so that was a personal choice. You didn't want to touch him.
Well, I couldn't wouldn't have said I didn't want to touch it. Maybe because I had a lot of people around to help me.
Oh,
But
okay.
it wasn't, I don't know. It was just what it was at the time. Like, oh, okay, so there you are. You have come. Can I rest?
Really? Okay, I hear you.
So that was what it was, pretty much. Oh, so it's you.
Okay, so take us through the entire process. So after that, what happened then?
Yeah, and then I didn't get help. I didn't get maximum help from people. My
So,
sister, of course.
sorry, let's go back a little bit. So at that point in the hospital, you say your husband was there. As your boyfriend at the time, he was there. So at that point, where did you go to from the hospital?
I went home. I went to his house.
You went to his house. Okay. So you get home and then
And okay, because we also decided to get a new apartment from where he was staying. So I went to the new house.
so after that, what happened? When you got there, what happened?
Of course, I got help. My sister was around to help me bath my child. I got help. And shortly after, I think about 2 or 3 days, I started giving my baby his bath on the second day after he was given birth to by myself.
So you had no help at all?
No help until I think about 3-4 days after my mother-in-law came, and then she took over from me. So I pretty much had to do everything myself. I had to clean. I had to go to the market to buy food stuff that was going to cook.
Wait, hold up. After 2 days of putting to bed, you went to the market yourself.
Okay, let me not exaggerate. I probably had the grace of 7 days. So after the 7th day ceremony
Ceremony of what?
child naming,
Oh, okay, naming ceremony, right? Okay.
I was going to the market
Mm-hmm.
and then cooking my meals
Yourself.
myself.
Why? Am I allowed to ask that? But why exactly?
Because
Why?
I didn't have help. My mother-in-law was
You see,
around.
at what point did your mother-in-law come?
Like 3 to the 3rd day or 4th day after I gave birth. But I mean,
She came to the house.
she came by herself, and I don't know. I think I needed to please her. I didn't see the need to, but I think subconsciously thinking about it and looking back to how I lived my life, then I think I was doing a lot of pleasing. So I would go to the market, buy stuff, come back, cook. I was cleaning the house. I mean,
You would cook for who to eat?
for myself, my boyfriend at the time.
Everybody in the
Everybody. He would even invite a friend or two. I'll cook. I'll serve them. They would take their plates back.
Have you
to the
even
kitchen.
done healing?
Of course not.
What?
I remember one particular night that I think I had a tear on my sewing. I don't know what happened, but God, I felt so much pain down there. Like I died. Like I was so much in pain. And good thing is my mother-in-law is a medical practitioner. She was a nurse, so she retired as a nurse or a matron, I'm not sure. But she just somehow always have all these drugs with her. And then I told her how I was feeling. She gave me pain relief, and I felt better. The truth is, if she had not given me that pain relief at the time, because I think it was about 1 a.m. in the morning, I would have been in the hospital because the pain was just something I couldn't bear. Yeah. So I pretty much was doing everything, and that accumulated. Like it was just so
So
much.
apart from your mother-in-law giving you pain relief, apart from your mother-in-law giving you pain relief to relieve the pain, what else did she do?
She would.
Because she came all the way.
Yeah, she
So
would just.
this thing they call
bathe.
amogwa, right?
Yeah.
So what exactly did she
What
do?
she did was take the baby's bath, and that was all she did.
That was
Take
all
his
she
bath.
did.
Yeah. I remember the day I went for. I went to the hospital to circumcise my son. Yeah, that night, that day, I think it's usually on the 7th day you do. Well, the Yoruba tradition is a bit different. I think it was the 7th day or the 8th day. I went to the hospital to do his circumcision, and I was like, "Oh, Mom, I'm really tired. Can this baby sleep with you for the night?" And then at that point, I wasn't even lactating very well. So in between, most of the times, he used to still take his baby food. And I'm like, okay, can he sleep with you in the night so that I can rest and sleep? She was like, no, let's sleep with you. Let's sleep with you. I'm like, okay, wow. So it wasn't a very good experience. I think that was just what made me, and I would cry at every little thing, everything just made me cry, like every little thing. And I'm not a crybaby. I've been able to work on my emotions over time, so I know how to control how I feel. But at that period of my life, I would cry at everything. I remember that I had to go out with my friends, like I think 2 weeks after I gave birth. I went out. I left my baby with my 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Oh wow!
I'm not sure.
You went to where?
I went out. I went to drink.
Wait, what? You went to drink. 3 weeks after.
2 or 3
Who
weeks.
did you leave your
after.
baby with first?
My mother-in-law. She was like,
Your
"Oh, where are
mother-in-law.
you going?" I said, "Mom, I need a break. I need to cool my head." She was like, "Oh, you don't do that." I said, "Mom." I said, "If you were my mom and I told you I needed some time to cool off, would you take care of my child?"
So you went to drink.
I went to, because it was just overwhelming. My boyfriend at the time wasn't forthcoming. He wasn't the best person I needed to talk to or be with. I just needed to be out. I needed the fresh hair. I just needed to be out, like be free. Like I just needed that. And then I went
Did you ever think drinking could, because you were breastfeeding at the time, so did you ever think breastfeeding could affect your baby, or at that point you
I
didn't
didn't
care?
I didn't care. I just needed to be okay. Because I mean, you just have to be okay. You come first. You have to be okay. You have to be sane enough to take care of your child. You have to be sane enough to be a good mother to your child and to be a good wife to your spouse.
I mean, you're not married at the time.
I wasn't married, but I wasn't so focused about him. It was just me at that time. I was going crazy. Like I was becoming somebody I didn't want to be. I would shout and nag, and I just needed that break.
But you having to do everything yourself. You didn't think you needed help at that moment? Because, I mean, apart from your mother-in-law having to birth your child and all of that.
The truth
because
is,
you saying you were already going to the market 2 or 3 weeks after.
2.
Like, that's not even healthy
1
at all.
week after.
Except, what? 1 week? See, that's not even healthy at all. Because I'm sure you're not even fully healed. You're still going through pains. And was childbirth easy for you, though?
It wasn't.
It wasn't,
It
right?
wasn't, because I was induced. It wasn't easy. I said I was in labor for 2 days.
Oh
Obviously,
God,
it wasn't
was not
easy.
at all.
When I get pregnant again, what happened to me last time would definitely not happen again. That is for sure. But like I said, I felt the need to please my mother-in-law, to please my then boyfriend. So I was having to do everything. Because right now, if I do not get the help I need, might as well all be hungry and not eat. Because I'm not going to go to the market and I'm not going to cook.
Right.
My priority at that time would probably be to take care of my child. That's if it happens again. But having to go all through that process, no.
So at that point, you're doing everything to please your mother-in-law and your boyfriend at the time, right?
Yes, it wasn't a deliberate it wasn't deliberate. It wasn't like I was saying to myself that, okay, I need to do this so that they'll be happy. But thinking about it and thinking about who Deme really is, how I would have reacted, why I didn't react the way I should have, I just knew that, okay, somehow, I was just trying to please the family without even knowing.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you, how did you feel when it came to your child? How exactly did you feel towards the child? So all through this process, when you were, feeling all these things you were feeling, how did you feel towards your child?
I think I began to really feel that, oh, I just had a child, when he could relate back to me. I mean, at that early period, your child may not be able to smile back at you. Yeah, but the feeling became different when he could smile back at me, when he could relate with me, when I, giggle, when I tickle him and he will giggle, then the step building up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is my child. He's smiling back at me. And then when somebody else tries to carry him, he might probably decline. When he will come to me for some milk, the bonding started growing. But at the initial period where he couldn't relate to me, he couldn't see me.
Right.
No, I couldn't have said what I felt. But I know that I did not hate him. But I couldn't have been able to express myself the way I see people express themselves on social media. Oh my God. It's this, it's everything. No, I couldn't have.
You couldn't have, right?
Yeah. So I don't know how it will be on my second child. But I didn't feel that excitement.
So during this, you said something about, 2 weeks after you went out to drink. You just wanted to clear your head, right? You just wanted to, leave the house, do something different than taking care of your child. At that point, I don't know. I was going to ask you. I don't want to say how were you feeling, but at that point you didn't care what was going to happen with leaving your child in the house, did you?
Well, I cared, my child, but I just knew that he was in safe hands, he's with his grandma.
Mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also a limit to what she can do. So this time you're leaving your child with your mother-in-law, your boyfriend at the time wasn't there, right? It was just her. And then you going out to have fun. So when you were out having fun, you were not at any point thinking about him. So there's this thing that happens with, breastfeeding moms, and when you're out and you've not breastfed for a long time, your boobs become very heavy and sore.
At some point, my boobs, I did. I even had a leak.
While you were out?
Yeah, it was
what
when
did you do?
I had a leak. I said, okay, you know what? It's time to go home. That was when I had a leak. I was like, okay, it's time to go home. Yeah, but of course, the truth is, I think I left where I was at 7. And the truth is...
What time did you go out?
I left at 3.
Okay.
And I got...
So you're out for about 4 hours?
I left there at 7. And if he was my mom, proper, I'd have probably stayed longer.
Oh.
Stayed longer. I just had to consider this woman. She's already calling everyone, calling my dad and stuff. And at some point, I think I used to pretty much drink just so that I find solace. On days where, I wasn't getting the right vibe in the house, I would just pop some alcohol and drink.
Even in the house?
Yes, in the house. Regardless.
So after you drink, do you breastfeed
yes,
immediately after?
In fact, I was like, you know what? He will sleep. Let's all be drunk.
Wait, let me ask this question. How is your son? How did your son turn out?
Oh, this baby. Yeah.
How did he survive that?
He did. My friend would tell me, oh, Timmy, don't do that. His brains are still forming. I'm like, but I need to drink.
But he helped you at the point.
Yes, he did. He helped
me. Did he really help you? Let's talk about that. Did it really help you? Did you do it and then feel better after?
Yes, because I would just drink and sleep. So it did help me. I found solace in it. Well, drinking has, a more conservative word to use. I would say drinking has always been my thing. But, I drink on the normal. While I was pregnant, I drank. It may not have been the best thing to do, but I drank. Not to the point where I couldn't control myself, but just to have some alcohol in my system, because it was something I was used to. So I drank, and then when I was breastfeeding and I was having bad days and I needed to drink, I drink some more. I drink so much to the point that I just need to sleep.
Wow.
So when I breastfeed my baby, of course, what I have taken in is what I'm giving out, and then he drinks and sleeps, and we're good.
So my question to you is, while you were drinking, did you think if you had, more hands, like help, did you think you would have been a little bit better at that point? If you had more help, apart from your mother,
It would have been a
people.
lot better, because all I would have needed to do was rest.
Okay.
I was pregnant for 9 months and I barely had sleep. I was barely myself. Of course it would have been a lot better. Of course, yes. It would have been like I would have just eaten, breastfed my baby and sleep. Get back. I mean, it's just normal. You've stressed yourself for the whole week, and then by the weekend you're not able to rest. You go back to the next week
doing what the
same
normal
thing
routine,
again. At some point you will break down. So that was just what happened to me. So until you give yourself that rest, you will break down. And then when you eventually break down without giving yourself, it has more effect on you than when you had, giving yourself breaks intermittently. And that was really what happened. I just needed to rest and be taken care of. But I didn't get that. So
it took a toll on you, of course.
It did.
So at what point did you get yourself out of that? Like, okay, at what point did you realize you were feeling this certain way, and if you didn't call yourself to order, you're going to get out of hand?
I mean, I know as much as life doesn't always turn out how you want it to be, but at some point I knew that what I was saying wasn't who I was and wasn't the kind of home or family I really wanted. And I'm like, okay. I sat back, I'm like, okay, why is this happening? Because of course there was a lot of conflicts because I was in my emotions and all of that, and I just, you just need to snap out of this, In fact, I only got a help 6 months after I had my child.
6 months after?
So for 6 months, I was pretty much doing
everything yourself. And all through the 6 months, your mother-in-law was around?
She was just around for 1 month.
Wait, she was around for just 1 month. The baby was how many months when she was around?
Obviously 1 month.
1 month, and after that she left? So you literally did everything yourself. And then your boyfriend at the time was around, but he really wasn't doing much. And you still stayed.
I still stayed. I mean, staying... I stayed because, well, at that time, leaving the house wasn't an option.
Why?
I didn't think about it.
Okay.
It was more of my son. But as my son grew older and I wasn't still getting what I deserved as first a baby mama, second a girlfriend, I'm like, okay, you know what, I don't think I belong here. I don't think I deserve to be here. And then I took a walk. That was after I think it was about 1 year and 4 months, 5 months. I'm not sure. I left.
You left? Oh, okay, you left the house. Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, so because I wasn't getting the treatment I needed or I deserved, and I mean, like I said to you from the get-go, it was something I wanted. Like, I wanted to keep the child and I was ready to be responsible for the child.
So at what point were you ready to be responsible for the child?
Me? Right from when I was pregnant.
Right from when you were pregnant? No, I'm talking like after the entire process of what you were feeling, and there were times when you wanted to be alone, you just let the child and go out. Like, at what point did you just realize, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now, and I need to call myself to order. If not, it's gonna get out of hand. Like, at what point?
But I think after he was, I can't really say, but I think, okay, well, yeah, he was growing and I could relate, and I saw that he was doing a lot of things that he was saying. So I knew that, okay, this child is going to grow up and pick the things he sees. Of course, pretty much children learn from what they say, what you tell them.
Yeah.
And I knew the environment wasn't friendly for him. I mean, there were a lot of arguments. Of course, he wasn't hitting me at all, but I mean, there were a lot of arguments, shouting and all of that. And I wasn't happy seeing my son in the midst of all of this drama. I wasn't happy at all. I didn't want him to see that. I didn't want him to grow with that. So beyond my son, it was me. Like, I felt I deserved more treatment, more love, more attention, more care, and I wasn't getting it. And I said, you know what? I am not going to. Same reason I didn't want to be married to you, because I have a child for you. It's the same reason I am not going to stay with you, because I have a child, even when you are not treating me right. You don't have to be over the top. Just mutual respect. First off, let's start from there. Respect me. You're not going to be home on time. You call me. Communicate with me. Pretty much that was it. And I wasn't getting all of that. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be here. And I think after I left the house was when everything turned around. That was the turning point for us.
Okay.
As a couple. And then it changed everything. He realized that, okay, I need these people in my life. I see the value, and it changed everything. So shortly after that, we got married.
Oh, so you leaving the house was the turning point for him?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
Nice. Okay. So you're saying to, find whatever it is and act fast, like whatever you got to do to make your head correct. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's usually not the same scripts for everyone.
True.
But you just know what you want. Everybody knows what they want. And if you're not getting what you want and you're making effort to see that, you're making effort to, you're playing your part and you're not getting it in return. I mean, why would you be in a situation where, for heaven's sakes, we're not even married. I just had a baby. So, yeah.
So, how long did it take after? So, when you left the house, what did he do? Because, of course, he tried to get you back. So, you say it was the turning point for him. So, what exactly did he do?
In fact, he had to tell me not to involve our parents.
Are you serious?
So, it won't be a lot more complicated. And I saw that he wanted us. I saw that he wanted me. I mean, it was just a typical case of you don't value what you have until you lose it. So it was until when we left, it was just, oh my God. It dawned on him. Like, oh, I miss Jaden and I miss you. I do this. I'm sorry. And I had to come back with my terms. I'm like, you know what? If you want us to be back in your lives, you have to do X, Y, Z. You have to do this. You have to do that. He promised and all of that. He, even after when we got back, he wasn't 100% forthcoming, but I saw the efforts. And that was
which is something you didn't see earlier.
Of course, I didn't see earlier. And that was what made me stay. And I'm like, you know what, let's give this a try. And here we are, married and happy. No, I'm not going to. Well, I'm not so good with hiding emotions, hiding things, and probably if I was still in my emotions, I probably won't be here. But trust me, I've healed from it. I've learned. I'm in a happy place and a better place now. That's why it's easy for me to share my story. Yes, so leaving the house, I think, was one of the things I did that turned around everything.
So another question is, so having gone through all of that, do you think you're mentally prepared for another child?
Mentally, yes. Financially, no.
Right. Okay. I mean, financially, we can take care of that. But when it comes to mental health, I think that's very important. So that's something, we have to hold very dear. So
Yeah,
you're not mentally
yes,
there.
I think I am prepared for another child.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
So you definitely have learned from your past experience.
I have.
To do better.
I am not going to be a superwoman.
Oh, you tried to be a superwoman last
yes,
time.
I did.
Of course, trying to do
I am
everything
not going
yourself.
to be a superwoman. I am going to relax and be taken care of. Whatever can be done, stays aloof.
Period. As it should be. As it should be.
As it should be. Yeah, mentally, I think I'm ready for another baby. Yeah.
So just financially, you're not there
Yeah,
yet.
financially.
But yeah, you can.
I just want to be able to give as much care as I'm giving to the first. So whatever I'm buying for the first, I should be able to afford to buy for the second. I mean, for me, it's not like I want to take out the role of the father in his life, but I want to be able to financially care for the child, for the children, with or without the father. I mean, anything can happen.
Also, you said something about, when you got pregnant and then, your boyfriend at the time wasn't ready. You were ready to do everything yourself. Because I know there are a lot of people out there that, they get pregnant and, whoever they are dating, their baby daddy at the point is not prepared to have a child or whatever, and then they get to be treated a certain type of way. And then, of course, social media. Everybody goes on social media to rant, call the person out, blast the person, do all of this. So what would you say, what advice would you give to women that don't have like a present partner at the time, someone that's not like mentally prepared to care for a child? Because having to care for a child, takes a lot. It's not something you can just say, okay, because it's one thing, even if you have the money, it's one thing to have the money, but it's another thing not to be emotionally and mentally there, for your child. So what would you say to women that that find themselves in situations where they are pregnant and their partner at the time is not ready to
for me, it was something I would have loved to have my partner go with me through the journey. However, that wasn't the case. So from the get-go, when he told me that wasn't what he wanted, I had mentally psyched myself. I had prepared myself mentally. And I told myself, okay, this is the situation. This is not something he wants. So you might have to do it all by yourself. And when I got to that mental point of having to take care of that child by myself, every other thing didn't matter. So when he came to me in between, it was just a plus. You just have to be mentally prepared for everything. Even with my labor, I was mentally prepared. Was it painful? Yes. But it was something that I had processed. I spoke to a coach and she told me childbirth is painful. So she psyched me. She told me what it was, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This child, I am going to have it. So I infused everything. Oh, it will come with pain, it will come with this, it will come with that. So I was mentally prepared for that experience. And so also with my child. Like, if two people got involved in a thing and the other person backs out and you decide to go on with it, then you should be able to go on with it regardless of what comes along. So if people can be prepared for it, I mean, you would have a better reaction to whatever comes along. So I was ready. Like I said earlier, we were not intimate for 9 months.
Okay.
And it wasn't a bother as such, because I knew that this was something I wanted.
I mean, it wasn't a bother to you at the point. But for some women that, it's something that is actually a bother.
But how would it be a bother to you when your partner has told you this child is not something he wants? He doesn't want it. That if you want the child, you go ahead with it because he's not going to be a part of it. So how would you go back to him and say, okay, I feel this type of way, I want you to be intimate with me?
So what would you advise women in that situation? What would you advise them to do?
Just own it. Just own the situation. You want to keep your child by yourself. Own it. Be responsible for it. Be responsible for everything that comes along with being a single mother. Not accepting to be a single mother and then going out to lash the guy.
Yeah.
Because before you get to the point where you are keeping the child or when you're having the baby, you must have had conversations. And he will tell you his stand in the life of the child. Mine told me this is not something I want at this time because of XYZ. But I said, okay, you know what, regardless, I want to keep this child. And I owned up to it. It came along later, all well and good. But before then, I had to be okay all by myself. As little as much as not being intimate for 9 months. You know, it could be different for every other person. It could be that, okay, he's not financially there. You take up the responsibility. Like, mentally prepare yourself. I mean, you might have to want to go back to him and have conversations with him and see the need why he should be involved. But let his reaction not determine how you react. You get? Because he had told you from the get-go. I mean, it's important for the man to be a part of your life. But I mean, if he says, okay, you see, this is not what I want, and you decide that you want to keep it, from time to time, human feelings, oh, but don't you think you should do this, you should do that? But let there be some part of your senses that tells you, but this guy he has told you already. Own up to it, take care of your child, do what you can do. Just prepare yourself for it and be ready. You want to be a single mother, be ready to be responsible for your child. You want to have a family, do the right thing. You want to be a single mother, like that.
I mean, I'm not about to push for, because I know that when you don't want a child, of course you don't have unprotected sex. So in situations where some women are not, because okay, now we've spoken about, you know, the partner not being prepared for it. How about situations where the woman herself is not prepared for it? Do you think it's something that could also lead to postpartum depression when she's not ready? Because there are some people that are not actually prepared, you know, to have kids. It's one thing to say you want to have a child. It's another thing to go through the entire process.
Of course, like, I mean, it happens. I mean, I have a friend that her baby is almost, her baby, I think she's a teenager now. She's like 16. Of course, she wasn't prepared for the child, but situations differ. There are people that may have tried to take out the baby.
That's what I was trying to talk about.
Yeah, like they didn't get through with that. Like the baby was like, you know what, I am coming. The situations like, of course you will be depressed. At some point in your life, you just have to reevaluate your situation, whatever it is. Even if the guy has shown some commitment and he changes his mind, of course you will try your best to, you know, buy into him or for him to buy into you. But if it's not working, sit down, evaluate yourself, think of how you can make it work for you. In life, in everything we do, we come first. It might sound selfish, but we come first. We're the most important person. Like I tell back then, when I just needed to make it clear to my partner, I said, see guy, I need to be sane to take care of my child first and to take care of you. I need to be sane. So you
come first.
You come first.
Definitely.
You come first. So whatever the terms, I mean, people are so in love, get married, have children, and divorce. It happens. So let there be a sit back, reevaluate the situation, and think of how to forge ahead. Think of how to make it better to suit you, suit your child.
This thing you say makes absolute sense, because what I was just thinking about was, imagine situations where there are some people that have all the money in the world, like all the money that you could possibly think of. They have all the money. So even if you want to have like 500 maids in the house, they have people doing everything. Even if they decide not to even carry their child for more than 30 minutes in a day, they have enough maids to carry the child from morning till night. People like that can actually still go through postpartum depression.
Of course.
Exactly.
It comes in different ways.
So it really doesn't have to do with, you having the money or whatever.
No,
it's
mental
mental health.
Sometimes it could even be that your partner is not emotionally attached to you. That could cause depression. And for a lot of men, when their wives are have just newly given birth, they tend to distance themselves away. And there's something that comes with childbearing that causes a lot of friction, and I'm thinking it's because of the fact that, I'm used to just being with you and I living together, and there's another party. So having to shuttle the responsibility of taking care of this person, taking care of that person takes a while. So of course there will be some friction in having to be there for everybody at the same time. You're not yet used to how to manage your time and all of that. So there are a lot of, depression, postpartum depression can come in diverse ways. Mine was just because I did not get the help I needed, and maybe emotional attachment from my partner. It could be in diverse
also
ways, because money wasn't the problem. Yeah.
So also, was there really a reason why the mother-in-law stayed for just a month? Why didn't she stay more? Wow.
Well, 1 month. 1 month was even too much.
Oh, really? So it was less than?
1 month was too much.
So having to come and do a mugo for a few weeks, what was I supposed to do?
Well, she has a husband first off, so she had to go back to take care of her husband.
Mothers that go for a mugo, they have.
It's just different. The energy was different. At some point, when I knew that she wasn't really what I thought.
Do you think it was something you were doing that made her want to go back early, or was it just her as a person?
I didn't care.
You didn't care at the point. Okay.
I didn't care at that point. Like, she was my favorite person. Like, she was the one person I would call whenever I had issues with my boyfriend, and she would tell me stuff to do. But at the point when I had my baby, it was just different. I saw her in a different light. I missed the times where I would have to go all the way to get her the things I needed to get, or to get the things I needed to get to cook. In my head, I'm like,
was it even worth it?
You get? I'm like, can this woman see that I'm struggling? Can she find a way? Can she insist? Her son could have as well. They are cooks. Somebody could have cooked and brought the food to me. You get?
Because I know, there's situations where, people are pregnant and then they say, oh, she needs to take a little pepper soup, she has to take this, and then you have people making sure that happens so you're fine. Because I know at that point you're healing, so nobody expects you to do too much. So do you think, my question to you is, do you think all, that she did affected your relationship with her? Did it after?
Of course it did.
Okay.
But there's something I know that it may not have been deliberate. There's some people that are just for their own. Like, it's a default. Like, they don't know, they don't think it is a bad thing, but they are just all for their own. Like, that is their wrong. That is the bad they do. Like, I don't care what it is. As long as this is my own, this person is right. Yes, I think that's what it is with her. But yeah, it changed my relationship with her a great deal, because she was my number one person. But after I came out of that depression stage, I started analyzing, thinking about everything. I'm like, okay, this woman would have made it a lot easier for me. And of course, it changed my relationship with her a great deal. It did.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So, I'm trying to see how we could bring this to, a close, but what are final words you could give to people out there? First of all, to people who are in relationships and maybe they found themselves in situations where they're pregnant, either your partner is not there and it's just them, or they don't have help, or something? What would you give to new mothers?
Okay.
Because new mothers are the ones that go through, postpartum depression. So what advice would you give to new mothers?
Yes, I would say to them that being a mother is a huge responsibility, and you need to be in your best self, which means that you come first. You have to think of yourself. You have to be a good mom for yourself. You have to be a good mom. You have to be in your best place to be a good mom for your child, and to even be a wife or a girlfriend to your spouse. So whatever it takes to be sane, whatever you need to be sane, if you need help, get maximum help to be okay. Secondly, be in charge of your decision. Whatever you decide to do as an individual, be in charge. Whether you want to be a single mother, you have to just be in charge. Preparedness is everything. You have to be prepared. Let me give an example of you having to leave. Okay, for instance, you have a sick parent, and that parent is going to die anytime soon. You're mentally prepared for it. You're the feeling is different as against you having a parent that you were just called suddenly that they had an accident and died. Reaction is going to be different. Of course it will be. You have a sick parent that's been sick for quite a while. You've cried all the tears because you've seen them in their worst state, right? And you have owned up to the reality that they can leave at any point in time. So it's a different emotion than when you're called suddenly that it's different. It's going to be devastating. So that is what it is. When you're prepared for whatever circumstance it is, especially the one that you have made a decision to go for, you react differently to whatever comes. So whether you decide to be a single mother, be prepared for it. Take responsibility for it. If the dad decides to be a part of it, that's all well and good. However, you need all the help you can get, all the help from wherever. You have to be sane to be a good mother for your son or your daughter, and to be a good wife. So pretty much just get help. Be prepared for what you're invited into your life. So mentally, financially, emotionally, just get prepared, and it will be a lot easier for you to handle whatever situation that comes with childbirth and postpartum depression. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have thrown so much light, to experience with postpartum depression. I am very grateful.
You're welcome.
So thankful that you came on here to share your story, because we know a lot of people would rather, it's one thing for you to have a story, because everybody has a story to tell. Every woman has a story to tell. But it's one thing for you to be mentally prepared, to be in the right, frame of mind to want to share your story. Exactly, because it's not something you just want to discuss with anyone and everybody. But you decided to come on here to share your story, to inspire the next person out there to know that you're not in this alone. We have all, you have been through this and you came out of it. So anybody can come out of it, because also there are a lot of people that are in it and don't even know how to come out of it. They don't even know
it
what
lingers
to do.
for more time for
and
different
then
people.
when it lingers for a very long time, there's this thing called postpartum psychosis. This is the extreme part of postpartum depression. This is the part where you're contemplating suicide, you're contemplating murder, you're just thinking of so many, evil things to do, either to yourself or to your baby at that point. It's called postpartum psychosis. So some people allow it. I mean, I don't want to just use the word allow it because they're not even aware of what they're feeling. But like I said, some people allow it to linger for so long that it gets to this point where they're contemplating all of this. So it's very important, like, you seek help, because of course there are like medical things you can do to things like that. You can see either a therapist, you can see a psychologist, anybody. They can either prescribe whatever they have to, because the minute you enter suicide, it's something else. So
well, I never got to that point.
Exactly, because you were able to call yourself
happy,
out.
Like this child should bring me so much joy, and I wasn't getting it. So
exactly, because I just remember there was this story on social media about a young lady that left her child in the house and went out to party over the weekend or something. Left her child to starve to death. Of course, nothing justifies the fact that you leave a child like that to starve to death in the house with no care or help or anything. But at the end of the day, we don't even know what people go through every day.
She obviously is not in the right place.
Exactly. We don't know what people go through. People go through a lot that they even discuss with anybody. So it even takes that's why when I was talking about, this entire podcast, I was like, it has to take a very confident and bold person to want to come forth to even share a story.
Yeah.
Because
good
a lot of people would rather
I'm
not.
in a better place.
Exactly. So I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. So guys, today we talked about postpartum depression. Like you heard from our guest, she has talked about her experience with postpartum depression, and she has told us that first of all, if not for anything, you should understand that self-worth is very important. You need to have like a self-awareness of who you are as a person, and you need to be like mentally prepared for anything, especially when it comes to having a child. It's one thing for you to sit and see a child and be like, oh, I'm having baby blues or baby fever. What's that thing they call it? Baby fever, right? They're like, oh, I have baby fever. I want to have a mini me. It's one thing to see and want to have it. It's another thing to go through the entire experience and the process and see what it's like. Childbirth is not easy. She said, for us to be in charge of our decisions, she said preparedness is important. We have to take responsibility of every single thing and action. And she also said we need all the help we can get. No matter what, you can't do it all by yourself. You need people around you that genuinely love you. It's one thing to have people around you. We can have so many people around you and they really don't have genuine care for you. So you really need to have people around you that genuinely care for you. You need all the help you can get. You need to be mentally, emotionally, and very important, financially prepared. You need to be financially prepared for the process that is called childbirth and the entire process afterwards, because it's not easy. And postpartum depression is real. It is real. It can happen to anybody. It's not something that can happen to just a group of people. And of course, you need to find something that works for you. For her, she said at a point, she saw herself having to drink a lot, and that made her feel good. It might not make you feel good. I'm not going to advise you and tell you, oh, go drink, because it worked for her doesn't mean it's going to work for the next person. It might not work for you, because also you need to have it at the back of your mind that all of this could affect your baby. It didn't affect her baby. It doesn't mean it might not affect your baby. It might affect your baby. So don't go and drink. I say, God beg you, no go drink. So she's saying, just find what exactly works for you and stick to it. If, finding people that could help you, people that you genuinely care about and genuinely care about you, if you find them, they can be around you and help you. And like she said, you can actually do this on your own. You don't necessarily need a partner beside you, just in case you have a partner around you that's not mentally, not everybody is mentally prepared to have a child. And truth be told, you can't force it on anybody. You can't say because you're pregnant for a certain person. See, I remember, I think a few days ago, I saw something on Instagram of Jada Pinkett Smith when she was having her normal red table talk. And then she said something about, because she's had this issue with her father, and for a long time, she and her brother. And then she said that she just got to a realization that at the end of the day, her father has a purpose in life. It's just that all through this purpose, one of it was to give life to her. that doesn't stop whatever purpose they had as a person. Because at the end of the day, we are all separate human beings.
True.
So even if I give life to you, I might not necessarily be mentally there all the time to be there for you. But that doesn't stop your purpose as a person. So she said her father was not always there for she and her brother. But when she came to the realization that her father has a purpose of his own as a person, whoever he is, to do whatever it is, with his life, all he did was give life to her. So she cannot stay angry at him forever because he wasn't there for her. So we need to understand that at the end of the day, just in case you have, situations where you have parents that are not there for you mentally or however you want them to be there for you, you should also know that you can do this on your own. No matter what, you can do this on your own. You can make it on your own. So I'm not going to talk much again. That's all I'm going to say. So thank you so much for listening, guys. And like we always say, please reach out. If you have stories to share, you can come on. You can send me a message on all my social media handles. I'm going to drop them in the description below. And then you can send messages to me. You can reach out to me. I also have a number right there you can call in case you have stories to share. If you want to come to the studio and share your story, we are here with open arms. We're here to receive you. We'll share your stories. Even if you want to write your stories, you can come on. You're not there yet to come share your story yourself. We can also read out your story and discuss about it, create more awareness. People know that some of these things actually happen. Like postpartum depression, it's a topic a lot of people don't talk about, especially in a society like Nigeria. Let's talk about Nigeria and Africa as a whole. We don't believe, there are a lot of things we don't actually believe in. We hear things like this and we think, it's a Western mentality. Some people just, like this postpartum depression, if somebody can feel a certain type of way, you say it's family something, or they're following a person from the village, or something, exactly, or it's normal. Why would you, people will make statements like, why would you have a child? I don't want to care for your child. Why would you have a child and watch your child cry? Exactly. The next thing, they label you a witch. That's the truth. That's the kind of society we find ourselves in. But we need to understand that there are titles attached to it, and we need to be aware of things like this. Postpartum depression is real, and it can happen to anybody. Thank you so much. My name is Flora Chiedo. First of all, before I go off, let's cheers. Let's cheers. So, as our guest, you're going to be telling us what we're cheersing to.
Oh my God. So
yes.
now you're putting me on the spot.
Yep. So, what are we cheersing to today?
Okay, this is a toast to good life.
Okay. Good life.
Good friends.
Okay.
Associates.
Okay.
More opportunities to make wealth.
Okay. I like the sound of that. What else?
Okay. I throw the rest back to you.
I mean, maybe good mental health also.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you. My name is Flora Chiedo. This is Bold and Beautiful, and we are signing out.